So I'm going to start doing quite a few word problems just to give you a feel for the new power that we're going to be able to have in solving problems using algebra. Using algebra as a tool. So in some sense, this next series of problems is going to be a way for me to validate to you the value of algebra in solving day-to-day problems, as well as my first attempt to help you guys develop an algebraic way of thinking about problems. So you can learn to apply algebra instinctively by the end of the course. So let's get started with this problem. So let me first read this problem. Suppose that 3 consecutive integers add up to 117. The question is, what is the middle number? So 3 consecutive integers adding up to 117. So what does it mean to be consecutive? Well, it means something like 1, 2, 3. Consecutive means one after another, of course. And they're integers. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. It can't be like 4.5, etc. It has to be like integers. 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, 0. Yeah. So now let me show you how we would use algebra to solve this problem. So what I want to do first is I want to imagine that I have the first of the 3 numbers. So we're going to let n be the first integer, okay? The first integer of these 3. Okay. So we have 3 consecutive integers that add up to 117. What is the middle number? So now let's think. If n is the first integer, what is the second integer? What is the relationship between one integer and the next? I want you to pause the video right now and I want you to imagine what's the relationship between this integer and the next one. Okay, I hope you've thought about that for a little, but I'm going to help you now, or I'm going to answer it now. The relationship between this integer and the integer that's consecutive to it, the next integer, is that the next integer will be n plus 1. So this will be the second integer, or we can call it the middle one, right? The middle integer. And finally, what's the next consecutive integer? N plus 1 plus 1, or in other words, n plus 2. So n plus 2 is the biggest of the 3. And so now we know that n plus 1, and n plus 2 are our 3 consecutive integers. We still don't know what the actual n is, but now we're going to look at this problem algebraically. It tells us that 3 consecutive integers add up to 117. So we can say that n plus 1 plus n plus 2 equals 117. And see, now we've written an equation that has allowed us to translate this verbal problem into an algebraic equation that we can now solve to state the solution of this problem numerically. So if we look at the left hand side, we have like terms, n plus n plus n, which will be 3n, and then 1 plus 2 is plus 3 equals 117. We're going to subtract our 3, and we get 3n equals 114. We now divide both sides by 3, and that gives us n equals And let's do this division. 3 goes into 1, 14. So 3 goes into 1, 0 times. 3 goes into 11, 3 times. It'll give us 9. And that leaves us with 24. 3 goes into 24, 8 times. So our n is 38. And that means that our 3 consecutive integers are 38, 39, and 40. And therefore, to answer this question, the middle number is 39. And I always recommend that you write a sentence answering the question. In this case, the middle number is 39. The reason why I want you to write a sentence explaining what the solution is that I want you to realize that the answer of this problem is not some number. It's a number that has a meaning. And now finally, there's one pro tip that I recommend always, and that is we want to test. We want to make sure we got the right answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all 3 of these. We see that these are in fact consecutive integers. That's not a problem. The only question is whether they do in fact add up to 117. So let's check. 38 plus 39 plus 40. So if we look at this, 0 plus 9 is 9, plus 8 is 17. So we put down the 7, we carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 4 is 11. And so indeed we have just verified that in fact the n is correct. Therefore the middle number has to be correct, and this is the answer. And there we have it. Whatever. Yeah. Awesome.